This is Agriculture Today, and I'm Shelby Varner with the K-State Radio Network. Deepak Joshi, K-State Agriculture Precision Specialist, starts today's show discussing how producers can use mapping from harvest to learn more about their field and how drones can be used for spraying. Continuing the show is K-State's Kelsie, Doty, and AJ Tarpoff with a few reminders about keeping yourself and livestock cooler in the summer heat. K-State dairy specialist Mike Brouk ends the show as he says how some dairies use monitoring systems that track heat stress before visible symptoms appear. That and more is coming up ahead on Agriculture Today. You're tuned in to Agriculture Today, and we start our show discussing using data and drones with K-State Agriculture Precision Specialist Deepak Joshi. Deepak, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, Sylvie, for invitation today.
Deepak, first wanting to talk about more of the harvest and soil side of a field. And when we're thinking about wheat harvest coming to an end, how could producers be using all that data they got from when they harvested the field in their combine?
Thank you, Sylvie. This is a really important time as the grower are right now harvesting their wheat, and they're going to be collecting a lot of yield data from their field. And those yield data can tell us so many different stories about their field, actually. So it's not only about the total yield, but it will, these yield data collected through the combine harvester. That's all the hard work of the whole year. So it will tell why high yield or why low yield, and where is the high and low yield. And also we can combine some additional information to get deeper insight about the field and the yield pattern.
And what additional information would you want to add on to that yield data?
Yeah, actually, when we use the combined harvester, they collect the data for, every few feet of the field, actually. And with that data, we can put the yield map. Actually, we can create a yield map. And that yield map can show us where are the high yield in the field and where are the low yield and where are the medium yield, actually. So within one field as well, we don't have a same yield pattern throughout the field, actually. Based on the soil type, we have a different soil type, like those things. So we have a different yield pattern. So just looking the yield map, we can get the idea about where are those yield pattern look like and what's the yield range look like of the field. But if we add more information, such as soil type information, it will give a little bit more information, like why that low yield in that area, actually. Maybe there is some soil information that can tell us more detail. And also in the high yield area, also it will give us information about why we are getting a high yield on that specific area. So that is one soil data that we can add and get more better understanding. And another is a topographic variation of the field as well. Like in Kansas, we have a big farm. Not all the farm are flat and uniform. Some have a high spot and some have a low spot. And adding those information as well can tell us more information about the slope of the field, what the drainage look like, where we have a more runoff, water runoff, like those. And based on that, it will ultimately affect the yield pattern of the field as well. So these information we can add and get the better understanding about field performance.
How have you seen growers implement this into their operation?
Yeah, I have seen a lot of growers. They collect the yield monitor data. They have a combined harvester and they collect the yield monitor data, and they use the yield map for many things, like as I said, to understand the yield pattern. And also I have seen our grower using not only 1 year of the yield data, but they combine the multiple year of the yield data together. And when we combine multiple year of the yield data, even we can get better understanding, by combining multiple year of the yield data, we can see where we are consistently getting the high yield every year. And based on that, we can make a decision, if we are consistently getting low yield on certain area, we don't need to put much input on those area, because we may lose our input there because we're not going to get the high yield on those area. So growers are using for many things, using yield data for every year to see that specific season performance, and also using the multiple year of the data to see the overall performance of the field actually for many decision making purposes. And based on that multiple year of the yield data, they use variable rate technology. So they apply different input of the fertilizer or seed or or irrigation based on the different management zone in the field actually.
Something else you might see growers using this time of year, drones, and how would they be utilizing them?
Yeah, drone is it's a popular technology in the precision ag right now. It's getting popular. A lot of growers are interested in using a drone. Now it's not only limited on the mapping side or scouting side or the remote sensing side. Now in addition to these applications, now growers are also using for different operation activities like spraying, especially the fungicide. Right now on the corn is a time for the fungicide application. So growers are using for the spray purpose as well, fungicide or insecticide or herbicide on their farm.
How does a drone navigate the field and know what to spray and where to spray?
Actually, as I said, drone are not only limited on the mapping, so we can combine the mapping drone and the spray drone together right now. We can fly the mapping drone and scout the field. We can find out where is the problem location from that drone actually. And based on the information that we get from that drone, and we can put that information in the spray drone for a target application, and we can just focus on some specific problem area of the field. Like especially we can do that for the weed management. If we see using the mapping drone, we can make the weed map of the field. And based on the weed map, we can put that prescription into the spray drone, and spray drone will just target those weedy patches only. Like it will not spray throughout the field uniformly, but only on the targeted patches actually.
Are there additional considerations to factor in when we're thinking about using a spray drone?
Yeah, actually, spray drone, there are a few things that we need to consider. There are different factors. Like right now, we are preparing for the fungicide application, especially for the fungicide application. Fly height will be the important. Finding the balanced height is important. We cannot spray using too high altitude as well, because if we spray too high from the crop canopy, there will be the drift issue, like a spray droplet if it's a windy, it will go away out of the field, and so we'll have some other issue. And if we spray too close to the plant height, and it will also create too much pressure, it will create an imbalance spray and ununiform spray in the corn. So we have to find out the appropriate perfect height that can fit well and can penetrate the droplet up to the bottom leaf as well, not only the top leaf, but also up to the bottom leaf of the corn actually. Some other considerations are like not only the wind speed, but also the wind fly height, but also the wind speed is really important. So as Kansas is mostly windy, so if it's too much wind, we'll have a lot of drift issue. So finding the wind speed, nice calm day is really important. Normally, much of the applicator, they don't spray if it's a wind is over 10 miles per hour. So it's better to have the less than 10 miles per hour actually. And another is also the fly speed as well is important to consider. If we fly too fast, we will cover more area, but at the same time, the effectiveness will be not much good actually. So finding the best flight height is also important actually.
Why have you seen operations choosing to use this technology on their operations?
One of the benefit with the spray drone is, if you have a small area or that is really not flat, or it's too much change on the landscape is too steepy, where ground rig cannot go. It's difficult to travel with the ground rig. So on those areas, you can easily use the spray drone actually, especially on the pasture and rangeland, where field are really difficult terrain, difficult landscape, where ground rig are difficult to take actually. And also like right after the rain, soil is muddy and wet. In that condition as well, it's difficult to bring the ground rig to spray. So on that condition, you can fly drone and just quickly spray as well. So there is no contact of the spray drone and the ground soil actually. So that's another benefit. And other benefit are, as I mentioned, like a target application is possible using the drone, and we can put the weed map on the drone, and it will just focus those weedy patches actually. So using target application, we can reduce the amount of input or herbicide application, and also it will reduce the amount of money we spend on the herbicide as well. So it's a very quick. And also, for example, like if you have a small area that you want to spray or like edge of the field, and on those areas, it's difficult to bring a whole big ground rig over there. So you can just use the spray drone quickly and spray those edges of the field or small area very, very easily, actually.
Do you expect there to be more technology developed and worked in when using spray drones in the future?
Yeah, definitely. There is a lot of improvement is going on, especially on the battery side as well. The one limitation on the spray drone is the battery. It doesn't last for a long time. So we have to use a multiple battery to finish a certain area, or we have to use a multiple drone as well. So that's one limitation. But the technology is improving every year. So probably in the future we'll have a better drone that can finish a whole 100-acre one flight as well. So but at the same time, we should combine the spray drone with a ground rig as well. Like spray drone are not here to replace the ground rig, but we can combine both together. When we have a wet rainfall, after rainfall, we can use the spray drone. And if we have to spray the big area where it's impossible using the spray drone, we can combine with the ground rig as well. So we can combine both technology for our better performance in our farm.
Deepak, I appreciate you taking the time to join us today.
Yeah, thank you so much, Selby.
That was K-State Agriculture Precision Specialist Deepak Joshi. I will link a couple of Agronomy e-update articles in today's show notes on agday.net. We're cutting to a short break now, but we'll be right back. You're tuned back into Agriculture Today, and we continue our show with parts of segments from previous shows. As we are really hot, I want to take the time for a few safety reminders for yourself and also your livestock. And today we're joined by K-State's Kelsie Doty and AJ Tarpoff. We begin by talking with Kelsie from Fashion Studies. Kelsie, thanks for joining us today.
It is so good to be here. Hello.
Kelsie, in the wintertime, we talked about picking clothing or fabrics to hopefully stay warmer. So going to the flip side of that, what can we be picking to hopefully stay cooler? And starting off with fabric and fibers, what are our options and what should maybe we be choosing?
Okay, so when we talked before about dressing for cold weather, that was all about trapping air between layers to create insulation and keep ourselves warm, right? Now we're dressing for heat. The heat is coming to Kansas. We know it gets so hot here in the summer. So dressing for heat works the opposite way. We want air to move around the body to promote what we call evaporative cooling. Like when your sweat cools and you feel a lot better, right? So first thing we want to focus on is the fabric and fibers. We want to focus on natural fibers. Typically, cotton and linen are perfect for the summertime. They breathe, they absorb moisture, and they help the evaporative cooling process. Now, typically synthetics trap heat. They're plastic, essentially synthetic fibers. So pay close attention. I always want to point out, often nowadays to make textiles cheaper, we like to combine polyester with cotton. And so make sure you're checking your labels. If you feel like you have a shirt that's always making you run really hot, look at the label. It probably has like 30, 40, 50% polyester in it, just so they could keep the price point down on that product. So if you feel like you have a shirt that's always making you sweaty, check the label. It's probably partly synthetic. Now, that being said, there are synthetics that are created specifically for cooling. They have to be specifically made for that. So there are some synthetics that have specific weave structures and knit structures that let moisture move. So you just need to make sure that you're looking for those products. Look for moisture wicking is a term often used, or moisture management labels on garments for the summertime. So typically we want lighter weight, faster drying textiles. This is especially important when it gets hot and humid in Kansas, because it is going to get humid, and that humidity really prevents the evaporation from occurring off your body. So you really need lighter, faster drying textiles.
And for those textiles, does it matter how it fits on a person?
Yes, it does. So for fit and construction, clothing that drapes slightly off the body beats clingy fabrics, especially in hot and humid conditions. Too tight, when your clothing's too tight, it restricts that airflow. And if it's too loose, you could catch it on equipment. So be careful. I'm not saying wear something completely baggy, but you do need it to stay away from your body slightly. This seems counterintuitive, but more coverage is typically better than less coverage. So long sleeves, but lightweight and light colors in the summer is better. It's kind of like portable shade. Think of it that way. You're protecting your skin. Like I said, lighter colors are often better too. So you'll want light colors that reflect solar radiation. Obviously, if you are dark colors, that'll absorb the sunlight and make you hotter very quickly. So white, tan, khaki are pretty much the default for summer heat.
As we've been talking about choices that could be being made to hopefully help people stay cooler, why is that something that's important when it comes to people's health and safety?
Oh man, heat stress is a leading cause of occupational illness in ag workers. This is according to the CDC. It is one of the more dangerous things because I know you guys get, everyone gets busy on a farm and a ranch. You're out there, you just need to get your work done. But it sneaks up on you quickly. And if you're not hydrating, make sure you're drinking enough water. If you're not hydrating, if you're not wearing the correct protective clothing, it can be really dangerous, especially when as we age and get older. So just making sure that you are paying attention to how you feel. Clothing is just one of the few heat interventions that's really something everyone can control. So I hope everyone can be safe out in the hot weather this summer. Just look for clothing that's durable, that functions. Obviously, we need things that are affordable, but look for the clothes that protect you and really invest in pieces that are going to protect your health.
Kelsie, we've talked about things for people to wear to hopefully help stay cool, but what are a few things that you would highly recommend producers not wear when they are going outside in the heat?
You don't need a black t-shirt in the summer. It looks good, but terrible out there in the fields. That's not going to work. Short sleeves, first of all, you're not protecting yourself. The dark colors are going to absorb all that heat. Yeah, just avoid the fashion objects as much as you can while you're working outside.
Kelsie, I appreciate you taking the time to join us today.
Anytime. Love to be here.
That was K-State's Kelsie Doty. We're now going to be joined by K-State's AJ Tarpoff as he discusses a few reminders for producers when it comes to caring for livestock and potential heat stress events.
When we look at kind of mitigation of heat stress, we can start very simply, feed and water, right? The most essential nutrients of life. We can't forget about the basics. Number one, water. Water needs do increase exponentially whenever that temperature starts to spike. So during heat stress scenarios, those animals need access and higher quantity of good, cool, clean water. So the water is number one. Feed. We've done some research here, this past summer at the Beef Stocker Unit here at K-State, looking at changing the feeding time, where, theoretically, if we start to feed cattle later into the evening hours, the heat of digestion occurs in the overnight hours and does not capitalize during the heat of the day. So we're not building up some of those stressors all at the same time. So we can spread them out over numerous hours where it's not as stressful and they don't get the full heat load all at the same time. And what we found is, yes, there is some functionality that when we're feeding into the later afternoon hours, those cattle consume that feed in the overnight hours. They have their peak heat of digestion overnight, so it does not happen at the same time during the heat of the day. Then we can get into some of our other environmental scenarios that we can do. That's an elevated level of management, but can very much reduce some of the severity of some of those stressful events. Number one being shade. If you have access to shade, not all shade is created equal. Some shade, if inappropriately utilized, can actually be more of a detriment. So we need to keep in mind that on a per head basis, we want the shaded area of about 25 square feet. Okay, so it doesn't sound like a lot, but that's enough for animals to be able to utilize that. If we have less than that, we can have cattle bunching, which doesn't allow some of the heat dissipation during the heat of the day. Height of some of those shade structures, what I like to tell folks is, yes, 25 square feet on the ground, but we want those high enough that if you need to get a loader, a tractor, anything like that, that you can drive underneath that shade comfortably, that usually gives us enough elevation where we're not trapping any heat from the pen environment. So that shade, yes, we can increase feed efficiency. We can increase some of the cattle comfort. We increase average daily gain whenever we're utilizing them, at least from some of our research here at K-State. So again, useful tool, big investment for the operation. There's some newer mesh materials that can be utilized instead of our solid structures. So there's some things to consider and things to look into. On top of shade, we can look at other pen scenarios, bedding, believe it or not. The pen floor absorbs an enormous amount of solar radiation during the day. And so if you have an ungrassed area or you're feeding in a dirt lot or a confinement scenario, that pen floor can reach upwards to 140 degrees Fahrenheit during the summer months. That's hot. And we feel it's like walking across an asphalt parking lot. You can feel that heat radiate up through your shoes. It's very similar for the cattle, but they have to stand in that scenario. So it increases some of the standing behavior and things like that. Now, when we use bedding, we can bed certain areas of the pen, and we can reduce the pen floor temperature by upwards to 25 degrees Fahrenheit. So that's a huge change in just the ambient temperature of what those animals are standing in to, one, increase comfort, two, allow those animals to relax where it's not as stressful just get in that given environment. Now, sprinklers are something that also comes up and it has a lot of discussion on when it comes to heat stress. Now, sprinklers is kind of a positive and negative. If they're used incorrectly, they can be very detrimental. So remember, the four parameters of heat stress is temperature, humidity, wind speed, and solar radiation. Well, we've talked about most of those, but the humidity aspect. If we don't have big water droplets, or if we use sprinklers at the wrong time of day, we can increase the humidity on the pen floor scenario and actually increase some of the heat stress where the cattle can't dissipate heat. So if you're going to use sprinklers, one, we never want to use a fine mist. We want big water droplets. We want to be able to wet the pen floor to allow natural evaporation to occur to reduce the pen floor temperature. So we're going to use those in the overnight hours or the very, very early morning hours to make sure that we can wet the pen floor evenly. We're not making little swamp holes or anything like that, just enough to get it damp. Evaporative cooling cools that pen floor before the next heat of the day. So that would be something to consider if you're utilizing sprinkler systems. But far and wide, one of the most beneficial things that we can do during heat stress scenarios is our own management. We want to reduce heat generating events for our livestock.
That was K-State's AJ Tarpoff. If you'd like to hear more about either of these topics, I will link their full segments in today's show notes on agtoday.net. We're cutting to a short break now, but we'll be right back.
Welcome back to Agriculture Today. Along with Shelby Varner, I'm Jeff Wickman. We end today's program with this week's milk lines. Heat stress on the dairy is always a major concern. Some dairy farms have a monitoring system to track heat stress before visible symptoms appear. K-State dairy specialist Mike Brouk says those without that type of technology should designate at least one employee to check cooling systems daily to make sure they're functioning properly.
Today I'd like to visit with our Kansas dairy producers concerning heat stress on their dairies and some of the things that we need to be watching for as we start into the summer. As we look at these stretches of heat stress that run maybe somewhere between 5 to 10 days in length before we get a chance to recover a little bit, those are really detrimental to the milk production in our dairy herd as well as our repro programs. So earlier we had visited about getting ready for heat stress and doing all your maintenance, making sure that your systems are working. But today I wanted to visit about how you monitor those systems. You know, we've got some really neat technology out there that we utilize in the dairy industry now to continuously monitor the body temperature of our dairy cows. And while many farms have it, most do not. So here's what I want to encourage you to do. If you have this type of technology on your animals, make sure that you pay attention to the technology and watch those body temperatures, particularly in the afternoon, and early evening hours to make sure that we're minimizing body temperature as much as possible, keeping in mind that as we look at repro programs, anytime we exceed about 102.5, we probably start having issues with reproductive performance in our dairy herd. And actually, it's fairly common during the heat of the afternoon, even with heat abatement systems running, that we may see some hours where we actually exceed that body temperature in our dairy herd. Now, if you do not have this type of technology, how often do you actually check your cooling systems to make sure that they're working properly? You know, as I visit with dairy producers that have the wearable technology on their animals so they can actually see what's going on with body temperature, one of the most common comments I receive is, when we see body temperature go up in a pen compared to other pens, we go out and we start looking at the system. We often find that there's an issue. Maybe a water supply is not working properly. Maybe the timer or software unit that drives the soaker systems are not working properly. Maybe we have some fans that for whatever reason have shut down. And without the individual monitoring of cattle, we would not have known that we had problems. So if you do not have the technology, how do you keep track of it? Well, make sure that there's at least one employee that is responsible for ensuring that cooling systems are working. And this probably needs to be done on a daily basis. We need to make sure that all the system is working correctly. That includes the feed line soaking systems as well as fans in the pens. If we notice that we have fans that go out, we need to make sure that we get those repaired as soon as possible. And, of course, the soaker systems are vital to the cooling of the cows during these warm periods when we're exceeding 95 degrees for afternoon highs. It's really important that you keep track about whether or not these systems are actually working or if they've encountered some sort of problem and are not working properly. Clogged nozzles can be a problem as well, so someone needs to be making sure, even though the system may be activating, it may not be delivering water where you want it, and you need to get those nozzles cleaned. So my encouragement to you as dairy farmers is you really need to have somebody on the farm that is responsible for checking to make sure that your cooling systems are actually working properly every single day as we go throughout the summer. Having these systems down for a day or two or even longer is a real problem for your animals, and you will see a negative result in the bulk tank as well as with your reproductive programs for your dairy animals. This is Mike Brouk with K-State Research and Extension, encouraging our dairy farmers to be observant of their cooling systems and their operation throughout the summer.
Thanks, Mike. And that'll do it for this edition of Agriculture Today. For Shelby Varner, I'm Jeff Wickman. This is the K-State Radio Network.